Olivia had always believed that kindness was her only true inheritance. She didn't have parents, wealth, or a family name to protect her, but she had a heart that refused to turn away from someone in need. At 17, she lived with her mother's distant cousin, Madame Felicia, a woman who believed discipline was more important than compassion. To Olivia, the house never felt like a home. She washed, cleaned, cooked, and ran errands from morning till night. She tried never to complain, but deep down she longed for a place where she was loved and not just tolerated. Every day after school, Olivia walked past a quiet corner behind an abandoned warehouse on her way to the small market. And every day for the past 3 months, she saw the same man sitting there. He looked older than he probably was, his beard overgrown, his clothes dusty, and his slippers almost torn. He always sat with his back against the wall, staring at nothing in particular, as though the world had forgotten him. Most people walked past him with sharp, judgmental eyes. Some hissed, others whispered insults, a few children threw stones when the adults were not watching. But the man never reacted. He simply sat quietly, watching life move without him. Olivia didn't know his name, but she knew the look in his eyes: exhaustion, pain, and loneliness. She had seen the same look in her own reflection too many times. One hot Saturday afternoon, Olivia was returning from the market when she saw him again. This time he looked weaker than usual. His hands trembled, and his lips were pale. The small nylon bag he kept beside him had been emptied, probably stolen by someone who thought he had valuables. A faint groan escaped his mouth as he tried to shift his body. Olivia stopped immediately. "Sir, are you all right?" she asked softly. The man looked up, surprised. His voice was hoarse. I just need water." Without hesitation, Olivia dropped her market bag and opened the bottle of cold water she had bought for Madame Felicia. She knelt beside him and helped him take slow sips. The man's hands shook so badly that she had to hold the bottle for him. When he was done, he whispered, "Thank you. You are the first person to stop today." Olivia smiled gently. "It's okay, sir. Do you have anywhere to sleep? Have you eaten?" Before he could answer, a sharp voice sliced through the air. "Olivia, what are you doing there?" Her heart dropped. Madame Felicia was standing a few meters away, her hands on her hips, face burning with anger. Neighbors from nearby shops turned to look. Olivia stood up slowly, her pulse racing. "Ma, he was thirsty. I was only—" "What nonsense," Madame Felicia snapped. "So this is how you waste my time and my money? You are feeding a useless homeless man with the water I sent you to buy." People were beginning to gather. Olivia felt her cheeks burn with embarrassment. "Ma, please. He is sick. He needs help," Olivia begged. But Madame Felicia's eyes were cold. "Help? You want to help him? Are you mad? Come home now." Olivia turned to the homeless man apologetically. "I'm sorry, sir. I will come back." The man watched her quietly, a strange sadness in his eyes. He said nothing. When they reached home, Madame Felicia did not wait for Olivia to explain. She slapped her hard across the face, sending her to her knees. "How dare you embarrass me in public?" "Ma, I didn't mean—" "Shut up. I feed you, clothe you, send you to school, and instead of gratitude you go around helping dirty homeless men." Olivia's chest tightened. "Ma, he is not dirty. He is human." Madame Felicia's voice rose even louder. "I have had enough of your foolish kindness. Ever since you came into my house, you always pretend to be a saint. Today will be the last day you shame me." Olivia's stomach twisted. "Last day? Ma, please." Madame Felicia pointed toward the door. "Pack your things and leave my house, right now." Olivia froze. She had known her guardian was strict, but she never imagined she would truly throw her out. "Ma, where will I go? I don't have anyone," she whispered. "Not my business." "Pack your things, or I will drag you out myself." Tears filled Olivia's eyes as she walked to the tiny room she shared with boxes and old clothes. She folded her few belongings: 2 dresses, her school uniform, a pair of worn shoes, and her books. Her hands trembled the whole time. As she stepped outside with her small nylon bag, Madame Felicia hissed loudly, making sure the neighbors were listening. "Let this be a lesson. Next time you see a homeless fool, don't waste your time. Go and live with him if you like." The door slammed behind her. Olivia stood on the street, shaking. Her chest hurt so badly she could hardly breathe. She had lost everything. Again. First her parents, now her only shelter. She wiped her tears and began walking, unsure of where she was going. Her feet led her back to the abandoned warehouse. Maybe she just needed to see the only person who had shown her something close to understanding that day. The homeless man. When she reached the corner, he was still there. He looked up as she approached, and for the first time his eyes softened with genuine concern. "You're crying. What happened?" Olivia tried to speak, but her voice broke. "She kicked me out, my guardian. She sent me away because I helped you." The man breathed deeply, as though trying to control an emotion. "Sit down, child. Tell me everything." Olivia sat beside him and told him the whole story, wiping her tears with the back of her hand. When she finished, the man looked at her for a long moment, his expression unreadable. Then he said quietly, "Olivia, your life is about to change, more than you can ever imagine." Before she could ask what he meant, he stood up straighter than she had ever seen, and the tiredness on his face seemed to fade. Something about him suddenly felt different, and Olivia's heart raced. Olivia walked out of her guardian's compound with a small nylon bag and a heavy heart. The sky above her looked calm, but inside her chest a storm was raging. She had been kicked out for showing kindness to a man everyone called a nuisance, the thin, dusty stranger who sat near the junction with a sleeping mat and a torn cap. She had only given him food and water and offered him gentle words. Yet that simple act had cost her the only roof she had. She walked without knowing where to go. Streetlights flickered on, a cool Harmattan breeze brushed her face and made the back of her neck sting. She hugged herself and kept moving past the small provision stores, the welding shop that hissed and sparked, and the pepper soup joint where laughter and loud music spilled onto the road. Everything looked normal, as if the world did not see her pain. Near St. Monica's Church, she stopped. The white building stood quiet under the night sky. A security light made the courtyard glow pale yellow. Olivia found a corner near the side wall where the ground was dry. She sat down, placed her nylon bag beside her, and pressed her head against her knees. She did not want to cry, but tears came anyway. She cried softly so she would not disturb anyone. She cried because life had pushed her again to the edge. A soft cough made her raise her head. The same homeless man stood a few steps away, the one she had helped that morning. His clothes were still dusty, his beard still looked wild, but his eyes were clear, bright and gentle. "You should not sleep in the open," he said in a low voice. "It is not safe." Olivia wiped her face with the edge of her sleeve. "I do not have anywhere else to go." He looked at her with quiet sadness. "Come," he said, "please, I know a place where you can sit until morning." She hesitated. He seemed harmless, but she had learned to be careful. Yet the calm way he spoke and the steady look in his eyes gave her courage. She picked up her nylon bag and stood. They walked together along the quiet street. He kept a small distance, as if to show he meant no harm. After a few minutes, they reached a small night canteen behind a fuel station. Warm light shone from a single bulb. The smell of jollof rice drifted out. "Mama Ifeoma," the man called gently. A woman stepped out. She was tall, with easy eyes and a wrapped scarf. "Ah, Papa Obi," she said to the homeless man. "Is that you? What do you need this night?" "Please," he said, "this child needs a place to sit and rest till morning. If you can give her a plate of food and allow her to stay on the bench, I will be grateful." Mama Ifeoma studied Olivia for a long second. She saw the red eyes, the nylon bag, the thin arms. She nodded. "Come in, my daughter," she said. Olivia sat on a wooden bench near the door. The night air kept her cool, but the light and the soft radio music made her feel safe. Mama Ifeoma brought a plate of hot rice and a small cup of water. Olivia whispered, "Thank you." She ate slowly at first, then faster when the food calmed the space inside her belly. When she finished, Mama Ifeoma gave her a clean wrapper to cover her shoulders and told her to sleep a little. Before lying down, Olivia turned to the homeless man. "Sir, thank you," she said, "for helping me tonight." He smiled, a quiet smile that made his eyes warm. "Thank you for helping me first," he replied. He did not sit with her. He remained outside the canteen yard, half in light and half in shadow, as if he wanted to watch over her without being noticed. Olivia shifted on the bench, pulled the wrapper close, and slept for the first time in hours. Morning brought noise, buses honking, people shouting prices, and birds chattering in the trees by the fuel station. Olivia woke with the wrapper still around her shoulders. For a second, she did not remember where she was. Then the night returned to her mind. She sat up and breathed out slowly. The homeless man was gone. On the table beside her lay a small loaf of bread, a sachet of water, and a note written in neat, simple handwriting. Return good with good. Be safe. Olivia closed her eyes for a moment. Then she ate the bread, folded the wrapper, thanked Mama Ifeoma again, and stepped outside with her nylon bag. She had no home, but she had a plan. She would go to the open market and ask for small work. Sweeping a stall, packing tomatoes, wiping tables, anything honest. She had always believed that no one stays in the dark forever if they keep moving toward light. At the market, the day burned bright. Traders shouted for customers. Baskets of vegetables filled the walkways. Olivia asked one stall owner if she could help. The woman looked her over and said, "Sweep here and pack these peppers. I will give you something." Olivia nodded and began to work. She worked at 3 different stalls until noon. By then her back ached and her palms were stained red from pepper. She earned small notes and a plate of beans. She was washing her hands at a public tap when a man approached her. He wore a clean white shirt and carried a leather folder. "Excuse me," he said politely. "Are you Olivia?" She blinked. "Yes." "I work with a community office," he said. "Someone asked me to give you this envelope." He handed her a plain brown envelope. Inside, she found a folded paper and a transport card for the city buses. The paper had only one line. "There is still more ahead. Keep your heart kind." "Who sent this?" she asked, looking up. But the man only smiled. "A friend who believes in you," he said, and walked away into the crowd. Olivia stood there, holding the card and the note, unsure what to think. She put both in her bag and returned to her work. But her mind was full. Who was watching her? Why did it feel like invisible hands were guiding her steps? In the evening, as the sun softened, Olivia started back towards St. Monica's. She would thank Mama Ifeoma again and ask if she could sweep the canteen floors at night in exchange for a bench to sleep on for a few more days. Before she reached the church, she saw a wallet on the ground by the roadside gutter. Brown leather, bulging a little. She looked around. No one seemed to be searching for it. She picked it up, opened it, and saw a few crisp notes and an ID card. The name on the card read, Obina Nwosu. The face on the card looked younger and shaved, but the eyes were the same as the homeless man's. Olivia's heartbeat quickened. She could keep the money and buy food for a week. She could take a bus to look for a job far away from the guardian who had thrown her out. But she did not close the wallet. She pressed the ID back into place and looked up and down the road. A figure stood under a tree across the street. Lean, dusty, with a torn cap. The homeless man. He seemed to be watching her from the shadow, saying nothing. She crossed the road and held out the wallet. "Sir, you dropped this," she said. He looked at her for a long moment, as if he was measuring something that could not be seen. Then he took the wallet and nodded once. "Thank you," he said quietly. "It is yours," she replied. "It should be with you." He smiled that small smile again. "Not everything in this life returns to the right place," he said softly. "But sometimes the heart leads it back." Olivia did not fully understand his words. She only knew that giving him back the wallet felt like the correct thing to do. That night, she slept again on the canteen bench. Sleep came faster. When she woke, the wrapper was over her shoulders and a cup of hot tea steamed on the table. The homeless man sat outside the gate, looking at the sky as dawn colored the buildings with pale gold. He turned to her. "Today," he said, "go to the central library after the market. There is a notice board. Read the paper on the left side." Olivia frowned. "Why?" He stood. "Because you keep walking toward light," he said, and began to go. "Sir," she called after him, "what is your name?" He paused but did not turn. "People here call me Papa Obi," he said, "but names can be many things." Before she could ask more, he slipped into the waking crowd and vanished. Olivia did as he said. After a morning of small jobs, she walked to the central library. The notice board stood near the entrance, covered with flyers. Lessons, job offers, missing items, community meetings. On the left side, one paper was new and clean. It read, Scholarship and Training Program for Youth with Courage and Integrity. Orientation today, 2:00 p.m. Hall B. Her chest warmed. Courage and integrity. She touched the words, then checked the time. It was 1:10 p.m. She hurried inside. Hall B was simple, rows of plastic chairs, a small stage, and a banner with the same words. Young people filled the seats, whispering with excitement. At exactly 2 hours, a man in a navy suit walked in with 2 assistants. He carried himself with quiet authority, like someone who led many people but did not need to shout. He took the microphone. "Good afternoon, my name is Mr. Obinna Nwosu," he said. Olivia froze. The name from the wallet. The voice from the street, but now clear, strong, and unhidden. The man smiled at the crowd. "Some of you may know me from my work," he said. "Most of you do not. That is fine. We are here for one reason, to find hearts that are kind and brave." He looked across the room, scanning the faces. For a brief moment, his eyes found Olivia's and held them, as if greeting an old truth. "We will begin with a short video and then a few words," he said. The lights dimmed. A video began to play. Streets, shelters, small acts of kindness, and people who stopped, listened, and helped. Olivia's throat tightened. On the screen, for half a second, she saw the canteen near the fuel station and a girl with a wrapper over her shoulders sleeping on a bench. Her breath caught. The lights returned. Mr. Obinna stepped forward again. "We test for skill," he said, "but more than that, we test for compassion. Today we will invite a few people to speak with us after the session." He paused. "Olivia K.," he began, then looked up from the paper and smiled directly at her. "Olivia, please wait behind." A soft gasp moved through the hall. Olivia's palms went damp. She stood without meaning to, then sat again, unsure what to do. The session ended in murmurs and claps. People began to leave. Olivia remained in her chair, heart racing, eyes fixed on the man at the front. He spoke with his assistants, then turned toward her and walked down the aisle. Halfway to her, he slowed. The thin, dusty image of Papa Obi flashed in her mind and overlaid the fine suit he wore now. In that silent space between them, something like light opened. "Olivia," he said gently, stopping before her, "I think it is time I told you who I am." Olivia swallowed hard as the well-dressed man stood before her. It felt impossible to believe that this neat, calm, confident figure in a navy blue suit was the same dusty, tired, homeless man she had helped under the shade of the abandoned warehouse. His eyes were the same, gentle and observant, but everything else about him looked different. "Please, come with me," he said quietly. Olivia rose slowly, her legs weak. They walked out of Hall B together. Other students stared as she passed, whispering among themselves. Some looked jealous, some looked confused. Olivia felt her heart punching her ribs. They stepped into a small office inside the library. When the door closed behind them, the man removed his suit jacket and exhaled deeply. "Sit," he said. She obeyed. There was a tiny pause. Then he reached into his pocket and placed something on the table between them. It was the same torn cap he used to wear as a homeless man. Olivia's breath caught. "My real name," he said, "is not Papa Obi. It is Mr. Obinna Nwosu. I am the CEO of the Nwosu Foundation. And for the past 9 months, I have been living on the streets, by choice." Olivia stared at him, stunned. Why would you do that to yourself?" He smiled tiredly. "Because money hides the truth. Wealth makes people pretend. When you are rich, everyone smiles at you. Everyone becomes kind. But I wanted to know what people really had in their hearts." He folded the torn cap gently. "So I disguised myself as a homeless man to see how people would treat someone they believed had nothing to offer them." Olivia listened without blinking. Everything inside her felt upside down. "And the truth," he continued, "was disappointing. Most people mocked me. Some insulted me. Some threw stones to chase me away from their shop fronts." He paused. "But then, one day, you stopped." Olivia lowered her eyes. "I only gave you water." "No," he said firmly, "you saw me. You spoke gently to me. You didn't rush away. And when your guardian insulted you, you still defended me, even when it cost you everything." Olivia swallowed. Her chest tightened. "I didn't want anything in return. I just couldn't ignore you." He leaned forward a little. "That is exactly why you are here." A soft knock interrupted them. One of his assistants peeked in. "Sir, the car is ready." "Give us a moment," he replied. When the assistant left, Mr. Obinna returned his gaze to Olivia. "You are intelligent, kind, and courageous. These are qualities money cannot buy. So I want to offer you something. Olivia's heart nearly stopped. I want to sponsor the rest of your education, he said slowly. Not just secondary school, university as well. Whatever field you choose. Her mouth opened, but no words came. I want to give you a place to stay, a safe place, a real home. He paused. And I want to mentor you personally. Olivia covered her mouth with her hands as tears filled her eyes. Sir, I don't know what to say. Say yes, he said softly. Let me help you the way you helped me. Olivia wiped her tears. But why me? There are so many people who need help. Mr. Obinna shook his head lightly. Because very few would have done what you did. You helped someone you believed had nothing. That is the highest form of kindness. She sat very still, overwhelmed, shaking slightly. Can I show you something? He asked. She nodded. He stood, opened the office door, and gestured for her to follow him. They walked outside the library into the parking lot. A sleek black SUV waited by the curb. Two uniformed security men stood nearby. Olivia recognized them. They were the same men she often saw escorting big businessmen on TV. The reality crashed into her fully. He really was a billionaire. The guards opened the back door respectfully, but instead of entering immediately, Mr. Obinna turned to her. I want to take you somewhere. Olivia hesitated. Where? A temporary home. Somewhere safe for you to stay until we finalize your schooling. She froze. Sir, I don't want to trouble you. You are not troubling me, he said calmly. I am repaying a debt I cannot measure. They entered the car. Inside, the seats were soft and smelled like fine leather. The car moved smoothly through the city, passing markets, shops, and buses crammed with passengers. Olivia stared out the window, lost in thought. It didn't feel real. Just yesterday she had been kicked out. Today she was sitting in a billionaire's SUV. Sir, she said softly, what will happen to me now? You will stay in one of our guest houses, he replied. You will go back to school. You will eat well, sleep well, and study in peace. And you will learn many things beyond books. I will make sure of it. And Madame Felicia, she murmured without meaning to. His jaw tightened slightly. The world will answer her in its own time. Your job is not to look behind, it is to move forward. They drove for about 20 minutes before entering a quiet estate. Tall trees lined the road. Houses stood behind neat fences. Children rode bicycles under the shade. It felt peaceful, almost unreal. The SUV stopped in front of a cream-colored duplex with red tiles and a small garden. This, he said, is where you will stay. Olivia's eyes widened. A housekeeper came to the door, smiling warmly. Welcome, sir. Welcome, young madam. Mr. Obinna placed his hand gently on Olivia's shoulder. Olivia, he said softly, your new life begins today. Tears gathered again in her eyes. She covered her mouth as her heart swelled with emotion. Hope, disbelief, gratitude, all at once. Sir, she whispered, I don't know how to thank you. You already did, he replied, the day you gave a thirsty homeless man water. Inside the house, Olivia found a clean room, soft bed, neat wardrobe, and a small reading table. She touched everything with trembling fingers, unable to believe that it belonged to her now. Downstairs, Mr. Obinna sat quietly in the living room, waiting. When she joined him, he smiled. There is something you must understand, he said. Kindness is a seed. When it falls on good ground, it grows in ways you cannot imagine. She nodded slowly. You planted a seed, he continued. Now your harvest has come. Olivia sat down, her voice shaking. Sir, will I ever truly deserve this? He looked at her with firm kindness. You already do. There was a silence, a peaceful one. Then he added, but your story does not end here. It is only just beginning. One day, Olivia, you will understand why kindness is the strongest power a person can possess. A soft determination filled her chest. She straightened her back slightly. Sir, she whispered, I won't waste this chance. He smiled again. Good. I know you won't. That night, after dinner, Olivia sat alone in her new room. She looked out the window at the quiet estate. For the first time in years, she felt safe. For the first time ever, she felt chosen. As she lay down to sleep, one thought stayed bright in her mind. Her life, once filled with struggle, was stepping into a new dawn. What she didn't know was that destiny had only started opening its doors. And soon, everything she touched would change. Life in the Nwosu estate felt like a distant dream to Olivia. Each morning she woke up expecting to find herself back in Madame Felicia's house, sweeping the compound or scrubbing pots. But instead, she opened her eyes to a soft white ceiling, neatly folded curtains, and a peaceful silence she had never known. Her first breakfast in the new home brought tears to her eyes: fresh bread, eggs, fruit, and warm tea. For years she had eaten only leftovers, often cold and tasteless, sometimes nothing at all. Now she ate slowly, overwhelmed by how much her life had changed. Mr. Obinna, however, made one thing very clear. You are not here for comfort. You are here for growth. He was a man who believed in discipline, structure, and purpose. He appointed a private tutor for Olivia, Mrs. Hadiza, a calm, intelligent woman who visited every morning. Education is your weapon, she told Olivia on the first day, and you, my dear, must learn to wield it. Olivia worked hard, harder than she ever had. She devoured textbooks, solved assignments endlessly, practiced difficult topics, and read deep into the night. For every question she struggled with, she reminded herself of where she came from and where she wanted to go. Mr. Obinna observed her quietly. He never interfered, never pressured her. Instead, he guided her with short but powerful conversations. One evening, he invited her into his study. It was a large room filled with books, awards, and photographs from different charity events. He stood by the window, hands behind his back. "Tell me," he said without turning, "what do you want to do with your life?" Olivia hesitated. "Sir, I just want to be useful." "That is not an answer." He faced her. "Your life must have direction. Kindness is good, but kindness with vision changes the world." She lowered her eyes. "I want to help people who suffer the way I did. I want to help children who feel alone." He studied her face for a long moment, then nodded. "Good. You have a heart. But a heart must be trained." She didn't fully understand his words yet, but she would. Within a year, Olivia had finished secondary school and had taken her WEC examination. The results came out 3 months later. Olivia stared at the result sheet, trembling. Tears rolled down her cheeks. "Sir," she whispered, handing the paper to him, "I passed." "No," he said with a smile, "you excelled." She covered her face and cried. He let her cry because those tears were years of hidden pain finally dissolving. 2 months later, she gained admission into the University of Lagos to study business administration, a field Mr. Obinna himself had mastered. "Business is powerful," he told her. "With business, you can create jobs, build shelters, support communities. I want you to learn how money works, because one day, you will manage more than you can imagine." University life opened a new world. Olivia became known on campus as the quiet, brilliant girl who always sat in the front row. She wore simple clothes, carried her books neatly, and always greeted everyone with respect. Some students assumed she came from a wealthy home, others gossiped about the expensive SUV that sometimes picked her up after class. But Olivia didn't care. She had learned long ago that people always talk. She focused on her studies, earning top grades each semester. Her lecturers admired her discipline. Her classmates often asked her for help in difficult courses. She joined 2 clubs, the Community Care Club and the Campus Leadership Society. Both fed her growing passion, helping others and understanding people. During school breaks, she returned to the Nwosu estate and spent time with Mr. Obinna, who taught her things she could never learn in classrooms. How to identify opportunities, how to manage people, how to think beyond the present, how to remain humble in success. "Power without character destroys," he told her, "but power with kindness transforms." Those words stuck like a seed inside her. In her 3rd year, something happened that changed her direction forever. The university organized an outreach program in Lagos mainland. Students were to provide food, old clothes, and reading materials to children in poorer communities. Olivia volunteered immediately. When she saw the barefoot children with hungry eyes, her heart broke. They reminded her of herself, lost, desperate, but full of potential. One girl in particular struck her heart deeply. Her name was Ada. She was only 8, thin, dusty, wearing a torn gown. Olivia knelt beside her. "Do you go to school?" she asked. The little girl shook her head. "My parents cannot afford it," she whispered. Olivia froze. That same sentence had lived in her own mouth years ago. That night she couldn't sleep. She remembered her old shack, her hunger, her loneliness, the insults she endured, the day Madame Felicia kicked her out, the day she helped the homeless man. Everything came together like pieces of a puzzle. When she returned to the estate, she knocked on Mr. Obina's study door. "Sir," she said, breathing fast, "I know what I want to do." He looked up. "Tell me." "I want to start something. A foundation, something for children like me, something for orphans, for the homeless, for the forgotten." He closed his book slowly. "What will you call it?" he asked. She blinked. She had not thought of that. After a moment, she whispered, "The Olivia Hope Foundation." A small smile pulled at his lips. "It is a good name. Sir, I want to help thousands, maybe millions. I want to give them food, school, safety. I want to give them hope." He nodded once. "Then you must prepare yourself. For what you want to build, you will need strength, and leadership, and courage." "I'm ready," she said, her voice firm. "No," he corrected gently. "You are willing. Readiness will come." And so her training began. During her final year in university, Olivia interned at the Nwosu Foundation headquarters. She learned how organizations were built, how donations worked, how budgets were balanced, and how people were managed. She sat in board meetings. She attended charity events. She shadowed directors and coordinators. She grew, she changed, she transformed. By the time she graduated at 23, she was no longer just the orphan girl who once shared a cup of water with a stranger. She was becoming a leader, and destiny was preparing her for something far bigger than she imagined. Because soon, the world would hear her name. The Olivia Hope Foundation grew faster than anyone expected. It began with a single office space in Yaba, a small rented room with peeling paint and 2 plastic chairs. Olivia didn't mind. She spent her first 3 months drafting proposals, visiting orphanages, interviewing homeless teenagers, and presenting her plans to anyone willing to listen. Most people smiled politely and said she was too young. Some warned her that charities were expensive and draining. Others told her she was chasing fantasies. But Olivia kept moving. She had survived abandonment. She had tasted hunger. She had lived through dust, insults, and rejection. No discouragement was strong enough to shake her. Behind her, quietly guiding her, was Mr. Obina. Whenever she doubted herself, he reminded her, kindness is not weakness. Kindness is strategy. Kindness is leadership. Little by little, the Olivia Hope Foundation took form. First, she organized weekly feeding programs for homeless children. Then she partnered with local clinics to provide free medical checkups. After that, she recruited volunteers, students, nurses, teachers, even business owners who believed in her vision. Within 2 years, the foundation had grown from feeding 50 children to sponsoring more than 500. And the media noticed. Stories appeared in newspapers. Young philanthropist supporting homeless children across Lagos. A former orphan changing lives through compassion. TV stations invited her for interviews. Schools invited her for motivational talks. Churches invited her to speak about hope. Everywhere she went, people admired her. Some cried listening to her journey. But the turning point happened when she launched her biggest project yet. A fully furnished orphanage and learning center located in Surulere, complete with dorm rooms, a computer lab, a library, a playground, and a kitchen that never ran out of food. The opening day was emotional. Volunteers were crying. Journalists were everywhere. Children hugged her legs, smiling with the innocence she once lost. As the ribbon was cut, the governor's representative announced, "Today, we honor a woman who turned pain into purpose and compassion into action." Cameras flashed, people clapped, and standing at the edge of the stage, watching quietly with pride glowing in his eyes, was Mr. Obina. He had once been a homeless man in disguise. Now he smiled like a father watching his child shine. 3 months after the opening, Olivia received a phone call that made her heart beat slow and heavy. "Someone is at the gate," her security guard said. "She insists she knows you, says her name is Madame Felicia." The room fell silent. Olivia froze. She had not heard that name in years. Slowly she stood and walked to the entrance. When she stepped outside, she saw an older, thinner, weaker woman standing by the gate. Her wrapper was faded, her slippers worn out. Her eyes were sunken with shame. Madame Felicia. The same woman who once shouted, "Get out of my house! You choose a beggar over me!" now stood trembling. When she saw Olivia, she burst into tears. "My daughter, Olivia, please, forgive me." Olivia looked at her, stunned by how much she had aged. She had once been strong and proud. Now she looked like someone life had broken. I heard what you have become," Madame Felicia cried. "I heard you now help children. Poor children. Like you once were." Tears dripped down her chin. "I was wicked to you. I threw you away like you were nothing. And now life has punished me. My business collapsed. My husband left. My own children abandoned me." She fell to her knees. "Please, I am begging you. Forgive me. Even if you don't want to take me in, just forgive me." Olivia's chest tightened painfully. Memories flashed. Days she went hungry, nights she slept outside, the humiliation, the insults, the cold rejection. She swallowed hard. "Stand up, Madame Felicia," Olivia said softly. "No," the older woman sobbed. "Not until you forgive me." Olivia knelt beside her, lifting her gently. "I forgave you a long time ago," she whispered. "Not for your sake, but for mine." Madame Felicia shook violently. "I don't deserve it." "Maybe not," Olivia said honestly. "But forgiveness is not given because someone deserves it. It is given because someone has grown." She pulled out a handkerchief and wiped the woman's tears. "You hurt me," Olivia continued calmly, "but your actions pushed me into my destiny. If you hadn't kicked me out, I would never have met the man who changed my life." Madame Felicia stared at her, speechless. "I cannot forget what happened," Olivia said, "but I will not let the past rule my heart." "Please," Madame Felicia whispered, "I have no home, nowhere to go." Olivia breathed in slowly. "You cannot live with me," she said gently but firmly, "but I will help you." She signaled a staff member. "Take her to the Hope Home, give her a room, give her food, and let the doctor check her health." Madame Felicia burst into tears again. Olivia, thank you, thank you." Olivia nodded once and walked back into the center. Her heart was heavy, but also strangely light. Forgiveness had set her free. Months later, the Olivia Hope Foundation expanded nationwide. New branches opened in Abuja, Ibadan, and Enugu. International donors began contributing. Children received scholarships, meals, clothing, and counseling. And through it all, Olivia remained humble. One evening, after a long day, she sat beside Mr. Abina on the balcony of the foundation headquarters. "You have become everything I knew you would be," he said. She smiled softly. "Because you believed in me." He shook his head. "No, because you chose kindness when you had nothing. That is the seed that changed your world." They sat in a peaceful silence, watching the lights of Lagos shine like stars. "Sir," she said after a moment, "do you ever regret disguising yourself all those years ago?" "No," he answered quietly. "Because that journey led me to you." Olivia bowed her head gratefully. He looked at her with pride. "You're no longer the girl who helped a homeless stranger. You are a leader who lifts nations." She felt tears fill her eyes. "And you," she said softly, "are the man who turned my kindness into destiny." They shared a quiet smile, the smile of two people whose paths had been stitched together by fate. Years later, people all over Nigeria would tell the story. The kind orphan who helped a homeless man, only to discover she had helped a billionaire. The orphan who became a philanthropist. The girl who chose kindness and changed the world. And children in orphanages would whisper her name with hope. Olivia, the girl who never stopped believing in goodness. The girl who proved kindness is the greatest wealth of all. What is your view about this story? Where are you watching from? If you like the story, comment, share, and subscribe to our channel for more interesting stories.